All right, guys, I just wanted to break down and take a look at Jacob deGrom. He does a lot of stuff actually really well. And so with this, I just kind of want to take a look at him at front foot strike, and then let's work backwards to see how he gets to this spot. But I just wanted to point out a couple things here. At front foot strike, let's go ahead and take a look at where his arm is placed right here. You can see he's got this L-shaped. He's pinching his scaps back, right? He's got a good equal and opposite with his front side and his back arm. We look at his trunk, his front shoulder is still on home plate, right? As his hips start to turn and start to square off. He's still connected here with the ground, right? He's got a good stretch in here with his back, hip, and leg. He's very strong here on his front foot, right? And so he's got really, really good hip shoulder separation right here. It's about to do that slingshot, that rubber band effect here once he goes into release. So he's got a great foundation here when he gets to front foot strike. So I wanted to work backwards and see, how does he get to this position? What are some things that he does really well to allow him to get to this position at foot strike? So if we go back, let's just go ahead and we can go frame by frame, right? I want you to notice something here. So right at his hand break, right? So his hands are just getting ready to break. Notice how he's in a good, strong, seated position here as he's driving down the mound, right? Number one. And then I want you to see his front hip. So his front hip is leading the charge, right? This is the first thing that's going forward as he drives down the mound. His front hip is in front of his front shoulder, right? And so that's what we want. We don't want this front shoulder leading, right? So he's having a nice hip hinge here in his back hip as he drives forward, and he's going to explode off of his back foot, right? So we can keep going back a little bit more here. So before he even gets to separation, right? So he goes at leg lift right here. Notice, let me go ahead and put my cursor there. So right here, I'm going to put my cursor here. Let's see how much forward he starts going towards home plate at the very height of his leg lift, right? So we've got our cursor here. So look at the very height of his leg. That's the very height of his leg lift. Now he's going to start coming down from there. Look at how much he's come forward from this being the starting point to now this being where he's finishing. He has started moving forward. So he is creating his momentum already off of the mound. He's not necessarily coming to that balance point where we traditionally see where guys come to a pause, right? He's not coming to a pause here. He's starting as his legs coming up. He's starting to get his body moving forward and get that momentum and get all that power that he's generating here in the back leg, right? He's getting eventually be able to use all of that power that he's generating here in the back side because he's getting his butt going. He's not coming up to a pause here, which is, in my opinion, what's keeping him healthy, right? Because this is him fully using that lower half as he drives down the mound. If you come to a pause, you have to do something to get your body going again. And this is where we see mechanical flaws and we see things break down in the delivery when we have to then use some other body part. This is where we see our front sides flying, our gloves flying, our arms dragging, right? Our front knee, this front knee flying open, right? To get our butts moving down the mound. But since he's already using that, this is what we would call a power angle, right? So at the height of his leg lift, he's got this little angle going from his foot to his hip all the way up, right? Instead of being straight up and down and having this posture, right? So you can see there he goes. He's starting to move at the very height of his leg lift, right? You can see as he's coming up, he's starting to go. So he never at any point in his delivery stops, right? And then as he drives down, you'll see him. He'll start to sit. Boom, he's sitting into that back leg there. And he's holding good ground force here, which is all created because he's not stopping. he's not pausing his momentum and then having to get it going again. He's just driving down the mound. Now, you can see right here, this is perfect. He's starting to ride the mound, right? He's riding the mound down. You see his back leg? This back leg is not giving in, right? This back knee is not going this way yet. He's holding this position as he goes into his handbrake, right? See how his knee is not breaking in towards the catcher's glove? It's holding this position as the rest of his body's driving down the mound, which he's holding that force that he's putting into the ground. And then it's going to transfer just as he gets into front foot strike. So right here, as you see how he turns the toe, so you can see this front foot. As he turns that toe, as he goes into front foot strike, that's when his back hip begins to start moving. So see this toe? Boom. Now his back foot, or his back hip, is going to start going. As he pinches back here with the scaps, he's pinching his scaps together and getting that arm in that loaded position like he's getting ready to throw a punch. And then as he approaches foot strike, bam, now he's got this angle here, looks like an L or a 90-degree angle with his back arm. We want to be here. This is prime throwing position. This is where we want to be when we get ready to release the ball, or when we get into front foot strike, because if we are with our arm dragging back here, or our arm straight out at this angle, this is what could cause arm drag, and what arm drag could cause is an injury, right? So this is all syncing up the delivery, but all of this is being synced up and the timing's being perfect because of the beginning part of his delivery, because he's getting into this motion. Now, I don't like to talk about a balance point. I don't think a balance point is necessary. What I think this is right here is this is him gathering all of it at the top, all of that energy, all of that momentum, all of that power that he's getting ready to put into the pitch. He's gathering it at the top of his leg lift. I would call it a gathering point versus a balance point. So he gathers here, and then that gets him into that prime position to be able to then drive down the mound and then get into this position where now he's on time. Now, we talked about the hip and shoulder separation, right? So his hips are starting to go, but his front shoulder's still locked onto the catcher's glove. High velocity pitchers, this is something they do. When you see a front hip and a front shoulder going at the same time, you're leaving velocity on the table, right? So the recommendation would be is, number one, it could be a flexibility issue in your hips. So maybe we need to get stronger and more flexibility in our hips. So that's something that you can do as a training aspect, like a weight training and a yoga or a stretching aspect of your overall baseball training. And that's something that I would focus on, so that way we can get a stronger and better hip and shoulder separation. Because they say that's where the velocity comes from, is that rubber band effect, which is that hip and shoulder separation. So his hips are starting to go at front foot strike, and his front shoulder is locked onto home plate. This is prime, and then this is what then leads into, I mean, beautiful. Beautiful. Everything's online. You can see that back foot, that knee, that back hip, the front knee, all the way into his head and out his arm, out the hand, his glove. Everything is in a prime position. And I believe all of this happens because of how you start. The finish product is only as good as the starting material, right? So if you're going to start out poorly here at the top of the leg lift, if you're going to start out poorly at the top of the leg lift, your finish is not going to be what you want it to be, right? So if we're here pausing at the top and then having to use some other body part to get us moving again, that's going to cause a flaw in the delivery, and then that's going to prevent us from being strong at release. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is just me trying to look at a couple things that Jacob deGrom does really well in his delivery. I think he's one of the best out there. He's one of the cleanest and purest deliveries in the big leagues right now. But you can go back, take what you just learned from Jacob deGrom and go look at some other guys in slow-mo and see. And go look at the guys who have gotten injured in the past and go compare and see what they were doing. I mean, you can look at guys like Strasburg. When Strasburg got injured, he was a guy that was at front foot strike. His arm was flat, right? His arm was flat here, and then he was coming through and he was dragging his arm. And he was a guy who at leg lift, He was a straight up and down pause at the top, no momentum guy, so he had to use the rest of his body, some other body part, to get him going down the mount, which then eventually led to his injuries. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Comment down below and let me know if you learned anything new from this video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on those bell notifications so that way you're notified every single time we drop a video. We will see you guys really, really soon. Thanks, guys.